We're going to begin with a short introduction about our company, which is called Manya, the Princeton Review. In the first place, Manya is the franchise of the Princeton Review in India. The company was started around 15 years back, and we have grown by leaps and bounds throughout the country. Manya has its presence felt all over the country today, and it has to its credit innumerable satisfied students who have been able to achieve their dream, which is to go abroad. Moving on about the Princeton Review. All of us might have heard about the Princeton Review. Princeton Review is the #1 test prep company in the world. It was started in a small garage in the US in the year 1981 by a person named John Katzman. Now, the Princeton Review is seen around, at least in 25 countries around the world. Hence, we can imagine the number of students serviced by the Princeton Review as well. Also, the Princeton Review is the only test prep company in the world to be listed on the NASDAQ. That's it briefly about ourselves. Moving on, we're going to discuss about the IELTS and the TOEFL examinations. We're going to have a quick round of questioning with all of you. Sure, we will wait for the students to join. I have received some messages that we have to wait for some time, around 10 minutes. Sure, I will wait for 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll do again. Yeah. Now, good evening to one and all present here. I'm so happy and delighted to welcome our chief guest of today, Ms. Gayatri Ramkumar, a senior verbal trainer for study abroad programs like GRE, GMAT, SAT, IELTS, and TOEFL exam, who has been associated with Princeton Review for the past 10 years. Good evening and welcome you, ma'am. And ma'am has more than 6 years of education experience in the education sector, and ma'am has been working as a visiting faculty for various institutions, and she's been heading corporate training division and training delivery. She's been conducting train the trainee programs, heading team of corporate trainers, a relationship with external vendors, and ma'am is skilled in designing and delivering IT and software training programs, and ma'am's area of expertise includes SAP ECC modules and NetWeaver integrations. And so I'm so happy to welcome you for this August gathering, ma'am. And we are happy and delighted to hear from you more about how to go about taking these competitive exams and how to apply for various universities abroad based on my scores, based on their scores. I also welcome our higher education cell head, Dr. Uma Mageshwari ma'am, and head of higher education heads of RMD and RMK CET institutions. I am very happy to welcome all the students of second years who have joined with the passion of doing higher education in their future. I also welcome all the faculty coordinators for the under this higher education cell to this August function. Thank you and welcome you all. I now welcome. I give over the session to Mrs. Gayatri, ma'am, to take over the session. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining. Over the session.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Hello all. Good evening to everybody present here. Uh, as you know, I'm Gayatri, verbal trainer, associated with the Princeton Review Manya for the last 12 years. On behalf of Manya, the Princeton Review, I'm really delighted to share with you some information about the GRE, IELTS, and TOEFL examinations. We'll discuss about the tests specifically about the IELTS and the TOEFL. Before that, we're going to discuss about the company, Manya, the Princeton Review, very briefly. I wouldn't want to take a lot of your precious time. Manya is, the franchise of the Princeton Review in India. We've been associated with the Princeton Review for the last 15 years. And we have grown by leaps and bounds throughout the country. And Manya is also really has won the prestigious award as the best franchise for the Princeton Review in the world. Moving on, regarding the Princeton Review. Princeton Review is a test prep company which was started in the United States by a person named John Katzman in the year 1981 in a small garage. And now the company is present in at least 25 countries across the world. Moreover, it is the only company in the world, or only test prep company in the world, to be listed on the NASDAQ. Certainly, we have come to this great achievement not by sheer luck, but because the Princeton Review invests a lot of time and money on research. Hence, you'll find that the materials and the trainers provided by the company are really of a high standard. Moving on, we're going to discuss about, I hope I'm audible to everybody. Please confirm.
Audible, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. As you can see, our first discussion would be about the IELTS and TOEFL examination, specifically about the IELTS examination. Before we start looking into the IELTS examination, some questions to all students present here. Can anyone help us understand what is the full form of IELTS? I'll repeat. What does the IELTS stand for? Please use the chat box and let me know. Wow, that is a really precise answer. Wonderful job. Yes, it does stand for the International English Language Testing System. Absolutely. Yes, thank you. Moving on, another quick question to all of us. Can you name some countries, please, which would accept the IELTS examinations? I'll repeat, the countries which require the IELTS examinations. All right. Okay. We can see US and UK here. All right. Canada, completely true. Germany, all right. Canada. Yes. Does the US require IELTS or does the US require another test as well, apart from the IELTS? Yes, thank you. TOEFL as well. You're right, GRE is indeed required, but remember, GRE is a completely different test requirement. TOEFL/IELTS are required for other purposes, and GRE serves a different purpose. We're going to discuss that today as well. Thank you, everybody. Yes, you're right. Yes, TOEFL is more accepted in the US, completely true. Fortunately for us, some colleges in the US also accept the IELTS examinations. All right. Can the IELTS test be taken for students who would like to work as well? Or is it only meant for higher education? Can the IELTS test be used by people who would like to work abroad as well? Yes, you're right. Perfect answer. For both, yes. We have separate kinds of tests for people who'd like to work and a separate test for students who'd like to pursue their higher education. Good job. What are the skills tested on the IELTS examination? I'll come again. What are the skills tested on the IELTS examination? Yes, LSRW. You're right. If one of you could please expand that. Listening, speaking, reading. Yes, fabulous answer. That's completely true. All the 4 skills are tested on the IELTS examination. Thank you. That was really interactive. Many of you had responded. Would expect even more responses on the next few upcoming questions. Let's move on and discuss and use the slides and understand what else is measured on the IELTS test and what else we have to understand about it. Yes. If you can see on your screen right now, people, we have been discussing about what does the IELTS stand for, which countries, and so on. All of this information is on your screen right now. Please do not hesitate to ask me questions regarding whatever you see on the screen. Finally, the score is also available on your screen. The score range is 1 to 9. Please keep typing your questions, if any, on the chat box. All right, thank you. Coming up next on your screen is the structure of the IELTS examination. Yes, 8 out of 9 is not only a good score, but also a great score. That's a really amazing score, you see. Yes, back to the test structure. We discussed these 4 components. On your screen are the time and the precise number of questions as well for each of these sections. On the listening section, you're not only given 30 minutes, but also 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. You have to tackle 40 questions in these 30 minutes. And it's completely based on just your listening skills. Reading, we're given 60 minutes to answer 40 questions. Whereas on the writing section, you're required to write 2 different kinds of essays. On each of these essays, we're given 30 minutes. Hence, in total, 1 hour. Certainly, speaking seems to be the shortest, the most precise and concise part of the test, with just 11 to 14 minutes allotted for the speaking. Now, our next questions in our mind would be, okay, what is the procedure to register for the IELTS test? What is the approximate cost of the test? Can I do it throughout the year? And so on. So we have answers for all your questions here. The fees is around 15,000 rupees. The website is, of course, on your screen. It's ielts.org. Remember, we are allowed to take up the test throughout the year. If you feel that you are prepared for the test, if you have been garnering a good score on your practice test consistently, then yes, you can take up the actual test. The score validity is for 2 years. Moreover, we have information about test cancellation and how to postpone the test as well. Let's take a few seconds and ask questions if you have any. All right, we have a question here. The test fee is sometimes prone to change due to various factors. So yes, the fee is prone to a minor change sometimes. That's a good question. The score that you need to obtain on the real IELTS can be very subjective, depending on the colleges which you'd like to apply and the courses which you'd like to choose. You can believe that a score of around 8 is certainly a fabulous score to apply to most universities and colleges. However, the score varies from each college. All right. Regarding MIT specifically, when I finish the presentation, people, I would give you the email ID and contact number, because unfortunately, I'm not really sure about the admissions perspective of the IELTS and the TOEFL examinations, because I'm not an admissions person. I would certainly ask Mr. Kumaresan, because you'll be also given the email ID and the contact number of the person. Please get in touch with him. I'm sure he'll be really glad to help you. You're welcome. Any further questions from anybody? Please let us know. All right. before we continue discussion of the TOEFL examinations, let's have a round of quick discussion again. So students, what do you think is the full form, or what does TOEFL stand for? Yes, Kishan Kumar, the IELTS examination is valid in the UK. Yes, it is. Good job, both of you who have said it's test of English as a foreign language. Exactly. Good job. Well done. Can we also discuss what is the highest possible score on the TOEFL? What is the score range on the TOEFL examinations? Dear students, what is the score range of the TOEFL examination? Yes, thank you. It's 120. Sorry, it's not 310. I'm sorry, it's 120. All right. What do you think are the skills measured on TOEFL again? Are they similar to the IELTS examination, or are they different? What kind of skills are measured? Yes, thank you, both of you. Yes, I could again see the LSRW. Yes, you're right. The skills which are measured on the TOEFL examination are comparable to the skills measured on the IELTS examination. Hence, we would also be able to see the speaking, reading, writing, and the listening sections on the TOEFL examination as well. Completely true. Yes, each section has 30 marks. Right. Hence, in total, 120 marks. So we have been able to come to a understanding. Let's start looking at the slides here and get to know more about the TOEFL. Why is the TOEFL required? Why does the ETS provide us tests like the TOEFL? Also, students, by ETS, I mean the owners of the TOEFL examination. Have you heard about the ETS? I'll repeat, the ETS. Have you all heard about it? Excellent. Yes, educational testing services. Thank you again. Yes, the ETS are quite popular, especially in the US. Educational testing services, completely true. All right. So back to our question about why does the ETS give you a test such as TOEFL? Why? Unfortunately, the answer is on the screen, people. Yes, just wanted to know. Yes, it of course measures our skills, whether we are able to use these skills which are required in real life once we move to the colleges or the universities there. Are we able to understand spoken English, written English? Also, are we able to listen to somebody? Also read, which is something critical, is it not? Yes. As you can see, the IBT internet-based test. The TOEFL is an internet-based test. The section's duration and the time. For instance, reading 60 to 80 minutes are offered to us. The questions are 36 to 56 in number. You'll be required to read passages and answer questions. As simple as that. Sounds really simple, isn't it? But the reading section on the TOEFL can sometimes be really challenging for students who are not really exposed to reading, basically. The listening can be interesting again, because you'd have to listen to various forms of conversations. such as lectures or a conversation between 2 to 3 people. Yeah, there are two kinds which you can look up to. It's a monologue or a lecture. Also, it could be a conversation, certainly. After which we are given a break to quickly refresh ourselves, because coming up next is also speaking and writing, which could be exhausting for us. Let's look at the number of tasks on the speaking. On the speaking, we have 6 tasks. Yes, you'll be asked to combine multiple skills here. Let's consider a situation where you're asked to read a small paragraph, listen to something specifically, maybe it could be a conversation, and then combine the two and speak. Any questions on what I've been telling you? Please let me know. In total, we have 6 tasks basically. Yes, we have 6 tasks on the speaking part of the TOEFL examination. There are some tasks on the speaking where you're required to just listen to a specific information and then speak about it. On the other task, you have to please read a small paragraph, listen to a conversation or a monologue, combine the two and speak, as I discussed with you earlier. Moving on to the writing task of the TOEFL examinations. Yes, we have a task on the writing where you'll be required to understand the information, which is your reading as well as your listening. All right, this is called integrated task. On the integrated task, you'll be required to read the information on the screen, listen to a specific task, and then write the essay, which combines the two. The next essay on the writing section is fairly simple. You'll have to just write an essay in which you express your opinion of the given topic. Hence 2 tasks. All right, we have a discussion here. It says the new version of TOEFL has 4 tasks. You're right about that. Yes. The latest version has 4 tasks. You're right. Thank you for pointing out. Thank you so much. We have discussed the writing as well. That's all. Some more specific information about the TOEFL examination is on the screen right now. The fees, how to register for the TOEFL examination. With regard to the number of years of validity for the TOEFL and the IELTS, they are comparable because TOEFL scores are also valid for 2 years. Yes, thank you so much for the conversion in the Indian rupees. Also, the good news is that we can take up the TOEFL exams throughout the year, just as we did for the IELTS examination. Precise information, you will be able to check your screens right now, how to reschedule, how to cancel the test, and so on. What is the time restrictions provided by the ETS for cancellation as well as rescheduling the test. Any queries? You can please address it now. All right, we have a good question here. I think that question is hard to answer. The question here is, which is harder? Is the TOEFL harder or is the IELTS harder? Unfortunately, like I said, that's a challenging question because that depends on our skills. All right. Sure, I'll quickly answer this question. The TOEFL and IELTS are definitely comparable, and which is easier and which is harder is not easy for a specific person to decide, because it all depends on our skills to begin with. Some students observe that the TOEFL is easier, whereas the others feel it's not. Okay, best exam for top colleges depends on which countries you're going to apply to. And that's exactly why I would be sharing the phone number and the email ID of the concerned person. Please contact them because they are the best people to help you with regard to the admissions. You can tell them which colleges or which countries you're specifically looking at. They would certainly be more than happy to help you. Finally, we'd like to inform you regarding the TOEFL and regarding the TOEFL and the IELTS examination that it's mandatory. Yes, universities would require one of these scores for sure. Yes, as you can see, these are critical for the visa purposes as well. So no matter whether you're applying for an MS program or an MBA program, please remember the TOEFL or the IELTS is something which is unavoidable. Okay, all, we're going to continue our discussion about the GRE examinations now. If you have any quick questions about the TOEFL and the IELTS, please go ahead. We're going to start with the discussion of GRE now. We have a question about the TOEFL and the IELTS examination here. All right. We will discuss the difference maybe towards the last few minutes. The priority, please remember, you'll have to talk to the concerned person. I will be providing you the email ID and the phone number. Moving on to the GRE. Yes, a quick round of discussion again. Anyone here can help me know what is the full form of GRE? That was really quick. Yes, completely true. Graduate record examinations. Yes. Perfect. What are the components of the GRE test? What are the components of the GRE test? Aptitude. Yeah, that's quite general, isn't it? What kind of aptitude is tested on the GRE? Anybody? Verbal? Okay. Reasoning? Quant verbal essay? Yes. Perfect answer. In fact, It's quant section, verbal section, and the essay section as well. Wow, yes, it's called the AWA section as well. All right. Yes, analytical writing assessment. Completely true. Amazing. Yes, you're right. A lot of students are really aware of the GRE. They do know what the GRE is all about as well, the structure of the test and the sections. That's excellent. Critical thinking, Kanimori, is not really prevalent on the GRE. Yeah, it is tested in very few question types on the test. So critical thinking is not really a common question type on the GRE. All right, we will move on and have a good look and good understanding of the test. All of us would agree that the GRE is in fact the first step towards admissions abroad. Yes, that's our first requirement, in fact. We are aware of this as well. What kind of programs require the GRE? Exactly, it's master's programs, MBAs, and other kind of programs as well. Yes, most of us would be looking at MS, is it not? And hence, GRE is certainly an important part of the application for us. Now, moving on to the specific order of the GRE, the structure of the GRE, and the scoring as well. Do any of you have any questions? Yes, for MBA, you're right. GMAT is required. Completely true. All right, back to discussion of the GRE structure. On the real test, what kind of a test would you see? The first section is always the AWA section. And what does the AWA stand for? Certainly, analytical writing assessment. That's exactly what it represents, the AWA section. How many such sections would you see? Certainly just one. What about the number of essays? As you can see, 2 well-structured essays are expected from each one of us. Yes, you're right, 2 essays. What kind of essays are they? One is called the argument essay and the other is called issue essay. So a student who told me about critical thinking or critical reasoning, yes, your argument essay is based on that. That's why your critical reasoning will really help you. 30 minutes for each essay. I'll come back to your question, Mohit, a little later on. Yeah, we'll discuss this later. Mohit, please remind me about this later. What about the time allotted for each essay? Half an hour for each. And the total score is in the range of 0 to 6, 6 being the highest possible score in the AWA section. Obviously, we can get a score of, let's say, a 4.5 out of 6 on the essay. So 0.5 increments are also possible on the essay section. Moving up after the essay section, what is the next section on the real test? Anyone can help us understand that? Any guesses as to what is the next section on the GRE? What you see on the screen is that after the AWA section, we have the quantitative section. Is this true every time? Could this be prone to change? Is this changeable? What you see on your screen? Any guesses from anybody? All right. All right. Yeah, I think we certainly have some questions on that. The answer is yes, it is changeable. What we see on the screen is not completely true because structure of the GRE is not fixed. The essay section is the only section which we can be really sure about. What can we be sure about? The AWA section is the first section of the GRE. Apart from that, everything else is according to the whims and fancies of the ETS. All right, they decide which section appears after the AWA section. So ETS can say, okay, today after the AWA section, we want to have a verbal section. And tomorrow they could say it could be math. All right. So therefore, what do we know about the structure of the GRE is that we'll certainly have 2 sections from quantitative or the math section, 2 from the verbal section. Another section which could be really weird for now is that this section, which you see on the screen, people, the last section, which is called the experimental section. Are you using the pointer right now on the screen? Yes. It's called the experimental section. Please look at the term experimental. Does it mean that it is prone to experiments? Yes, the same thing happens in the test, all right? This section could be math or verbal, could appear anywhere on the test after the AWA section, which means section after the AWA section could be experimental, or the third section could be experimental. It can appear anywhere on the test. As test takers, what do we know about this section? We just know that this section doesn't really add towards our score. Does not count towards our score. It is not scored. That information is also on the screen right now. Number of questions would be 20. The time given to us would be either 30 if it's a verbal section, 35 if it's math. And this section is a section which is used by the ETS, Educational Testing Services, to have or to obtain a pool of questions for themselves. Yes, so it's not scored. Please give me a few seconds. I'll have a look at your questions which you have on the chat box. Yes, you're right. Total marks is 340. Completely true. Yes. Yes, for experimental section, we are not given any score. This section is considered to be important by the ETS. With regard to the score perspective, it is not important because we're not given any score for this section. But we'll have to complete this section on the real test because we do not know which section is the experimental section. We don't know, and we would never come to know about it. Even after we complete the test, we would never come to know about it. Please go ahead with your questions about the structure of the GRE. If you have any questions about the structure, you can let me know now, or you can ask them later, depending on your convenience. Moving on to the scoring of the GRE, 130 to 170. It's true for math and for verbal with 1 point increments, which means students can get a score of a 168 in math. Also a 161 in verbal. 0.5 increments or half point increments is not possible on the math and the verbal sections. Yes. Will you all agree when I say that the GRE is a test of endurance? Let's add up the time allotted for each section. What do you think is the duration of the entire test? What do you think is the duration of the entire test? All right. Certainly not 6 hours, isn't it? Not 6 for sure. Thank goodness it's not 6. Let's add up. All right. We have a few interesting responses here. Yes, you're right. Including your breaks, it's certainly at least 3 hours and 45 minutes. Thank you for confirming that. Yes, it is a test of endurance. Completely true. Yes, we couldn't agree more on that. Students do sometimes tell us that it is not possible to remain focused for the 3 hours 45 minutes. But do you think it's possible, students? Can we focus for 3 hours and 45 minutes? Is it possible? Some encouraging messages here. Yes, thank you. Yes, it is definitely possible. Chakrish, regarding application, remember, we will be sharing the email ID and the contact number. Please speak to them. You can either write to them or contact them. Yes, it is certainly possible to remain focused for 3 hours, 45 minutes because we've been accustomed to a longer duration of tests right from school. And even now, we do keep working on multiple practice tests and drills, that's definitely possible. Thank you, everybody. You're right. We are moving on to the next part of our discussion today. Some brief introduction or some brief discussion about the GRE is also that it is an adaptive test. Yes, we should be excited by now to see how does it adapt. Yeah, I'll tell you quite briefly about it right now. Moreover, there is no negative marking on the GRE. That's again really fortunate for us because there's no negative marking. Evidently, what would we do? We would not leave any question unanswered. You agree on that? Everybody? Tarun, I'll definitely answer your question. Tarun, on the test day, what can I expect from you? Please do remind me later. We will definitely come back to that. Regarding the quantitative section, can we see on the screen that calculator is available? That can be an advantage for us as well, depending on how efficient we can use the calculator, how efficiently we can use it. All right, we said we're going to discuss briefly about the adaptive test. Adapted by section, which means your first section's performance is going to influence your performance on the next section as well. For instance, let's consider a scenario. Let's say our first section is the verbal section. On the verbal, for example, out of 20 questions which were allotted, let's say we answer 16 questions correctly. That's a good accuracy percentage, right? Out of 20, we get 16 answers right. That's good, which means the next verbal section is or will be harder. Why? The GRE is designed in this way. How is it designed? The next section adapts to the previous section. This applies for math and verbal. All right, math performance will impact your math performance. Similarly, verbal will impact your verbal. This is how the ETS has designed the GRE test. So your score does not depend on a simple algorithm, how many right answers and how many wrong answers. No, it depends on how difficult the questions were. Were you able to answer many difficult questions correctly? Can we have some questions here? Yes, sure. I'll give you the validity of these scores right away. We discussed TOEFL and IELTS already. Can anyone let me know what do you remember about the TOEFL and IELTS validity? Two years, you're right. Anyone can tell me about the GRE as well, please? What do we know about the GRE test score validity? Yes, 5 years. Exactly. Suppose I miss your questions. Please do remind me during the last few minutes. As a verbal trainer, I have been facing some difficulties with students with regard to the reading comprehension question types because students are not really well versed with reading. Yes, and reading comprehension is one essential component of the verbal section. 50% of your score depends on the depends on the reading comprehension. All right. So yes, what we have on the screen is different kinds of verbal questions. Reading comprehension is one category. The others are text completions and sentence equivalence questions. Coming up on the screen right now, what kind of questions would you see on the math? Different kinds of questions on the math. Could be multiple choice, could be just numeric entry. Topics are also available on your screen. Could be algebra, geometry, and other such topics as well. We have now come to know that the GRE is a standardized test. It is challenging, yes. Hence, what do we have in coming up, in the basket of materials that we offer? Manya, the Princeton Review, offers us two broad categories of materials. One is the manual, supplement, and the Manya WhatsApp. The other is your online student portal or your student dashboard. Yes, all. So as you can see on the screen, we provide you the manual, the Princeton Review Manual. TPR stands for the Princeton Review. We also provide the supplement with harder questions. Manya Words app is, of course, specifically designed for vocabulary. And because we said there are two broad kinds of materials, certainly the student dashboard plays a really essential role in our practice. Why? The online test. Remember, the real GRE is an online test. So we need to get used to the online situation as much as possible. I think most of us would agree that it can be really straining on our eyes to look at your screens repeatedly. You have to practice your drills and your full length tests. Yes. So let's get accustomed to it because the actual test is, of course, an online test. Let's check the number of tests available. We provide you 8 full length tests, which are completely adaptive by section. Innumerable number of questions. If you look at the number of drills that we have, it's around 450 plus drills at least, categorized into easy, medium, and hard. We also have algorithm which will cater to your needs. For instance, a student who's able to achieve a fairly below average score on the diagnostic test will be given a drill which is not so hard. Let's say we have a student who has been able to achieve a great score on the diagnostic test on the very first test. The drill smart option will give you drills which are harder. This is very briefly about the online student dashboard. I'll come back to your questions. Please hold on. What kind of a course structure do we have is what you see on the screen presently. So please look at the screen. We offer you multiple levels of practice, be it your vocabulary or your pre-work as well as the homework. Yes, so all these collective efforts will of course culminate in a desired score. We are very particular about the homework completion as well. Hence, we give a lot of importance to practice. You would have heard about this time and again, that practice makes you perfect. And GRE is no exception for that. We've been discussing about the Manya WhatsApp very briefly. Suppose you'd like to know more about this. Yes, we have numerous words. We give you at least 8 ways to learn each word. If you're a person who likes to learn a word using a picture, yes, we have that available. If you feel that associating that word or the root of that word would help you, yes, that's also possible. We keep giving you review questions so we don't tend to forget these words. Yes, so we keep giving you assessments over again on the Manya WhatsApp. Several interesting features. Yes, remember we said that test prep is certainly something which we have been in for a really long time. We have been able to sustain and grow immensely because of our stringent policies regarding certification and training. We also believe that every student is really essential. Hence, until we take up the real test or until you students take up the real test, we will be in constant touch. Few additional features, everybody. Refresher sessions are given to us. Let's say you've completed the course with us a few weeks or a few months back. We keep informing you about the refresher sessions. So you would be able to adapt the strategies, go through them again with your trainers, solve some extra questions, and practice, become proficient at these methodologies, and also test review, which is really critical for improvement, is provided by the teachers. Finally, a list of some of the students who have been able to achieve their dream scores. Some of you may have some doubts about the universities which we have been successful at. Now the names are also available. All of you were wondering about which colleges should I apply? Does this college require a specific score for the IELTS or for the TOEFL? For your further queries, please write down this email ID. Please take it down. It's kumaresan.k@maniagroup.com. It's on the screen now. It's kumaresan.k@maniagroup.com. All right, the phone number is on the screen right now. Please contact Mr. Kumaresan in the number mentioned on the screen. Yes, now we have some questions to be answered. We'll begin with Tarun. What should I expect on the test day? Tarun, which test are you referring to? Are you talking about the GRE or the IELTS or TOEFL? How are the different sections of the scores of the test scored? We said the GRE scores are valid for 5 years, if you remember that. Okay, all right. Since your doubt is about the GRE, on the test day, you can expect to see a standardized test. Yeah, Tarun? You'll be asked to follow the test instructions, especially because you might prefer to take it up at home or at the center. So a lot of instructions are provided by the ETS. Suppose you're doing it at home. At the test center also, yes, ETS wants you to wear a mask throughout the duration of the test. So you can expect the test is going to be of a standard difficulty level, not really hard, and of course not too simple. We discussed about the scoring of the sections also, Tarun. If you remember, we said that the scoring is not provided on just one simple reason. It's provided on various factors, such as how difficult the questions were which you've answered and how many questions have you answered correctly. How will I get my scores, and will my score report indicate? Yes, your score report will indicate that you took it at home. Yes. And how will you get your scores? You will get it by 2 ways. One, math and verbal scores are given to you immediately as soon as you finish the complete test. And you will also be receiving the score report to your postal address. And the score will also be on your account, your GRE account, which you'll be creating on the ETS website. Yes, others also, please let me know if you have any questions regarding what we've discussed here. You're welcome. Kalpana, that's again a very subjective question, Kalpana. Remember, we said the same for the other test types, such as the IELTS and TOEFL as well. What is the good score in GRE? Generally speaking, I can say that a 320 plus can be considered to be a good score in GRE. But Kalpana, that completely depends on which colleges you're going to apply to. What does your college expect from you? Which course are you going to choose? Because some specific courses have a specific requirement, for instance, in math or verbal. Right, Kalpana? So please, you can talk to Mr. Kumaresan. You can write to him or call him and speak to him, because you might have some colleges or courses in your mind for sure. Yes, you can apply even after 2 years because your score is valid for a period of 5 years. some universities or colleges do not accept a score which is more than, which is around like a 4-year-old score, because they feel that it's almost towards the date of expiry. Yeah. Remember, we said 5 years is the validity of the score. So after 4 years, some colleges may say, please do the test again and give us your recent score. So 2 years, definitely, you can apply. Other questions? Please go ahead. All right. Definitely, because that is the option provided by the ETS. Hence, at-home testing is accepted by the colleges. Okay, good GRE score. Remember, we said at least a 320 is a good GRE score. Remember, Kalpana, it depends on the colleges you're going to choose and the course which you're going to apply. You're right. GRE is as good as other criteria, like you told me, your SOPs, LORs, your presentations, your projects. Yes. Tarun, I'm not the right person to tell you about this. I'm sorry. I have very limited knowledge in math since I'm a quant trainer. Sorry, since I'm a verbal trainer. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not a quant trainer. So Tarun, I'm not the right person to answer this question. Kalpana, what I told you is that a 320 is generally considered to be a good score on the GRE. However, this is prone to change depending on the universities you're going to apply for or the courses which you choose. All right, so we cannot give you a clear information about what is generally a good score. People generally say that, yes, a 320 is a good score. Yes, you're right. AWA scores are essential. If you understand what is the AWA measure, maybe you'll be able to clearly get the reason behind why AWA scores are important. Because AWA measures your communication skills. Are we able to convince the grader of what you believe? That's exactly what the AWA is all about. Yes, so AWA scores matter. Yes. Regarding application, please contact Mr. Kumresan. The phone number is on the screen. You also have the email ID. If you need the email ID, I can go back to the previous screen. So let me know if you need any further details about the contact number or the email ID. Sorry, I'll not be able to answer your questions regarding applications. All right then. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to invite Kannan sir from RMK CET propose vote of thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Kannan sir, you can proceed.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Selvi, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening to all. So on behalf of our RMK group of institutions, RMK Engineering College, RMT Engineering College, and RMK College of Engineering and Technology, and on behalf of all the 3 departments and higher education cell overall coordinator Dr. Uma ma'am and other coordinators, it is very immense pleasure to me to say vote of thanks. First of all, I thank Gayatri ma'am to accept our invitation, and with her busy schedule, she came. I mean, she gave the very good webinar about GRE, TOEFL, and IELTS. And many things, ma'am, many things you explained very neatly, because today's webinar is most important for the second years, ma'am, because we invited second years only because then only they can choose their career and they can start their preparation
right,
for higher education.
You're right, sir.
So
Yes,
this is
sir.
the right time we started for the second year students. That too, second year students, it is very important one nowadays. Compared to placement, we are. Most of the students, they are concentrating more on higher studies also. But yeah, this is the correct time we started our work, and this will be continue for next next, the forthcoming years also, ma'am. And your webinar is very nice and more informative, ma'am. So it is a very good initiative for the second years. And
Thank
on
you so
behalf
much,
of
sir.
students, I
Thank you
assure
so
you, ma'am, definitely our students, most of the students, I think, did not join today, but from today joined. Many students they joined, so definitely they will spread the news, and definitely for the next webinar, all the students we will ask them to join, and definitely on behalf of students we will go through, and we will ask the students to join many more, ma'am.
Sir,
Thank you so much, sir. Yes,
thank you so much, sir. This is Kumaresan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir,
Thank
good
you
evening,
so much,
sir.
sir.
Good
Thank
evening,
you,
sir.
ma'am.
Good evening.
Sir,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Sir, one second, sir. On behalf
Hi,
of
sir.
Mani Education,
Hi, sir.
I extend my gratitude to Higher Education Department and Ms. Uma, ma'am,
Yes,
to take her time from her busy schedule to grace the event. And not least, thanks to all the students for their presence and contribution to make the webinar a great success. I think the webinar is more interactive, and a lot of questions will be asked to the, and a lot of questions will be clarified by the ma'am. Okay, and I want to inform that, we have long association with the RMK group of institution for, we have officially signed MOA with your group, sir. Thanks for your support and, the relationship with the, RMK and Princeton Review. And, the aim of the webinar is to get the students get benefited at the end. So we also have officially signed MOA with your group. Students who are interested to prepare for GRE or IELTS TOEFL, we provide some, discounts and scholarship for the students, especially for RMK group of institutions. If students plan to do any, higher education abroad, plan to do GRE or IELTS TOEFL, they can contact us, so we can provide all the information, and we provide the discount for the students also. I can, deliver this information to the students. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kumaresan, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, students. Thank you.
Thank you, students. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.